For more than half a century, one voice has been there for virtually every defining moment in professional cycling.
Oh, Balocki's gone down and Armstrong has taken to the grass. I have never seen that in my life as Lance Armstrong is back in the group. You can run all you like, but the rules state you've got to have your bike with you. He hasn't got his bike.
The mountains again have produced the truth. An arm goes round, you know, what Hans-Greg LeMond said to Bernard.
A big move by Lance. Ulrich has got no answer to this acceleration by Lance Armstrong. He took a look straight into the eye of Jan Ulrich and said, well, here I go, are you coming or not? And the answer is not. He's going to keep his yellow jersey. It is incredible, Paul. I just don't believe it. What a fighter. What a day for the rider from the Isle of Man, Mark Cavendish. It is win number 35. I feel a bit like Mark Cavendish. If I speak too long, I'm going to cry.
The attacks.
Watch out, he's dancing through the pack. He has just disappeared into the Pyrenees.
The crashes.
Oh, the massive crash there. What has happened?
The triumphs.
Tadej Pogačar looks at Vingegaard and says, this is how you do it.
The heartbreak.
He's lost the Tour de France by 8 seconds. The crowd has realised it.
Way to go to Paris.
To cycling fans around the world, Phil Liggett isn't just calling the Tour de France. He is the soundtrack to it.
There's nobody can match the speed of this amazing kid. He's flying up here like a scorched rabbit. Superb.
But while millions know the voice, far fewer know the story behind it. The young journalist from England, whose unlikely journey took him from local races to the biggest sporting stages in the world.
Sean Kelly too, we don't know till we get to this.
Over 5 decades, Phil witnessed the evolution of cycling from closer than almost anyone else. Now we're looking beyond the commentary booth and beyond the finish line to tell the story of the man behind the microphone.
Mignon is bouncing off the barriers here. This is the most incredible thing I think I've ever seen in my life.
We're the longest commentary duo ever worked together in any sport.
For years, Lance Armstrong was the biggest story in cycling. As the voice of the Tour de France, Phil Liggett was there to tell it. But when that story changed, Phil faced one of the most difficult moments of his broadcasting career.
While people were questioning you about you believing Lance, did you get to a point where you questioned your own loyalty toward him?
Yeah, I was highly suspicious now. 7 Tour wins.
The man in yellow is running at him with that usual determination. Ulrich is in the slipstream. Armstrong is coming with an incredible rush. And Cloden has realised it too late. Is there any stopping Lance Armstrong in this Tour de France? And the answer is no, there is not.
I just said to the organiser in Canada, Joe, I said, Joe, I just hope Lance doesn't take drugs. And Joe says, oh, you and me both. Because on the other side, he was raising tens of thousands of dollars for cancer. I used to do the stage shows for him, and there'd be questions sent to me, pre-arranged questions, which Lance just made sure I vetted them, but he didn't ask what they were. And Lance wouldn't appear till the last minute, and he'd just come on the stage. He'd park his aeroplane, jump in a car, on the stage, off the stage, aeroplane gone. They never had a chance to meet him. That was the way he did it. Unless it was a riding situation. And I remember once 2 people there in serious stage 4 cancer, and they brought memorabilia. They said, hey, I can't wait to meet Lance Armstrong, he says, and get these signed. And then Lance met them, and he said to the technician, turn the microphone off. And he sat and chatted to those 2 and gave them so much encouragement. Look, he said, I was in the same boat. I'm okay now. It can happen to you.
Yeah.
Signed the memorabilia, then left. But that was the other side of Lance that people don't see.
There was a lot of positivity to that.
There was an awful lot. And he talked of telephone numbers for the money he raised for Livestrong. $600,000 went into the coffers. He was a special person, but he was creating the world's biggest deceit, which...
Interesting word, because as I'm listening to you, I'm wondering, did you feel, or do you still feel deceived?
We have the best team in the race. That's sure.
Deceived, no. I think naive. I was naive, of course. But I wasn't going to cause anything to rock the boat either. Why should I? This guy was doing good as well.
Uh-huh.
That was the authorities. That was their job,
Right.
not mine.
Right.
And he was proving how to beat the system time and time again.
You know that this French TV crew has been following us around, trying to get in the rooms. So don't show them this, okay? Because this is secret stuff.
And he put his team in a very invidious position when he said, guys, you either take the stuff or you get off the team. Because they're all at it, and he was right in that respect.
Mm-hmm.
And said, if we're going to do well and win the Tour de France, then we've got to do what they do, and we've got to do it better.
Yeah.
Well, he certainly did that, let's face it. But that was the reason there's 7 X's on the record books of the Tour de France, because throughout history until that moment, the second place riders were given the first place,
right.
if the winner was positive. But not anymore, because they all knew, although they hadn't been caught during the Tour, they all had shady backgrounds.
Sure.
And so they were no doubt taking the stuff at that time as well.
Mm-hmm.
So there was no winner of the Tour for 7 years.
Right. 2 words, understanding and forgiveness. Did you come to a point where those are part of how you feel about this?
I've gone through very big emotions because when I was really getting hammered by the British press, I was front page news on the Sunday newspaper, which are the most read newspapers in the world, saying I never knew, just quoting me. And I was in tears at one stage. I thought, I don't deserve this.
Mm-hmm.
All I did was what was presented to me. And I wanted Lance to be right, because I'd seen the people who cried in his arms, taking cancer and being cured. And he was a brilliant cancer story, let's face it. When he just had his operation, he said to the surgeon, can I go and ride my bike? He says, if you can, yes.
Mm-hmm.
He said, and Lance told me, he said, I got 5 miles down the road, sat on the sidewalk, and I didn't know how to get home, but I couldn't ride anymore.
Yeah.
And this is a guy that went on to win the Tour 7 times.
And it still is a wonderful cancer story. I mean,
it is.
Amidst all the other things that gets forgotten, that it's still...
And I think America, they're no longer that rough on him. Yeah. They turn up in their thousands when he goes somewhere. Mm-hmm. His podcast has hundreds and hundreds of thousands of listeners. Lance is hurt because the bottom line is he loves the sport of cycling. And what hurts him the most is he can't go near a bike race. Mm-hmm. That really hurts him.
Right.
Because
and you don't think that'll change?
No. It won't change because of the way of the thinking of the world body and the drug associations. Mm-hmm. They were hurt by the way he nailed them and showed them to be wrong.
Yeah.
And in fact, they were right.
I've told you numerous times today that I wouldn't change a thing.
Yes.
Because I'm sitting here today. So I wouldn't change that. It was a mistake. It led to a lot of other mistakes.
When an athlete or any kind of star reaches that level of fame or stardom and power, and something bad happens, there's no way that person can get in touch with the thousands who feel personally affected. You narrated all of his success.
Yeah.
You donated a lot of your time to be a part of his cause and spent a lot of time with him. Are you hurt that he has never reached out to you? And whether it's to offer an apology or just to touch base or to talk with you?
I think he might have just said, sorry, Phil, or just something like that. Maybe he didn't even know the way I was being treated back home in the UK here. But I don't like to see a Sunday newspaper the way they rip me apart.
Yeah.
And this is a while ago now. I haven't actually seen Lance since 2011. We're still talking about him.
Yeah.
16 years ago almost.
Powerful story and figure.
This was the biggest thing to hit the sport ever.
The UCI will ban Lance Armstrong from cycling, and the UCI will strip him of his 7 Tour de France titles.
And there isn't anybody who's not been a great rider in the Tour de France has not been in some way involved in drugs.
Right.
Even Merckx.
Right.
He had his moments. Merckx said he was drugged by the mafia. Everybody's got an excuse.
Sure.
And they all think of different. I'm not saying Eddie. Don't get me wrong now. I'm not saying Eddie took drugs, but there's always conservation.
Yeah.
And the same with Bernard Thévenet, all of them.
Yeah.
But Lance did it, shall we say, the American way.
This is one hell of a race. This is a great sporting event, and you should stand around and believe. You should believe in these athletes, and you should believe in these people. He
intended to win the Tour de France. He came back from the dead to do it.
Yeah.
Don't forget, he was one of the youngest world champions ever, apart from Eddie Merckx.
Right.
And then he goes through his his phase of his prostate cancer and all the cancer that was on his lung and stuff.
Yeah.
And I used to say on television when he came back, he said, and the doctors gave him only 50% chance of ever living.
We're looking here now at the big legs of the man who has come back from that terrible cancer to be a force again in world cycling, Lance Armstrong.
One day, the surgeon who operated on him called me over from a commentary box. He said, hello, Phil. He said, thanks for all you said about us and stuff on TV. He said, just one thing. He said, you keep saying we give him 50% or 20% chance, I can't remember the figure, of living. And he says, I'll tell you the truth. We gave him, as his surgeon, 0% chance of living.
Wow.
So, you know, the guy is a born champion.
Yeah.
Drugs do not turn a donkey into a superb racehorse.
Right.
They help.
Right.
But you've got to have the basic talent. And I believe that if things had all been equal, he would have won some of those tours.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not 7 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
I've got no real hard feelings, but it's a little career blot as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And people, of course, can be very cruel. And I thought I was doing all the right things in helping those functions and stuff.
Sure. Back to the Tour. You've called more tours than anyone, not even a close second.
Yeah.
What's your first memory of the race?
Funnily enough, when I got my first job was driver for David Saunders, who'd invited me, expenses only, to drive the car.
Yeah.
So we had a nice car, I think it was a Toyota, and we arrived at the start. We'd never seen the stage of the Tour de France. We were at Scheveningen in Holland, where the race was starting for the first time. Now, all the journalists start in front of the race. So you park in front of the race. Then you go back and you chat with the riders in those days. It's harder now. And when a whistle goes, you have to run. It's like a Le Mans start. You've got to get down to your car, jump in and get out of there. Well, David and I didn't know the routine, so we didn't go to the start. We just parked the car in a line with everybody else. Mm-hmm. And I sat on the bank. It was a glorious hot day, and in fact, the sun never went in for 21 days. I thought the sun always shone on the Tour de France. And I looked left, and I saw an orange light coming forward. And I just said, David, does the race director have an orange light on his car? Bloody hell, he said, we shot down this bank into the car because the race was coming right to our car. Yeah. And we just parked up. I hadn't noticed all the other cars had drifted off. And we got into the car. Then I found the Tour de France has 2 races, the car race and the bike race. 50
plus, 52, yeah. I believe is the right number.
Yeah, 52.
Does one stand out as your favorite tour that you've called?
Yeah, it's got to be the 1989 Tour with Greg. He won it. It'd been a great race from the start. A great race. Fignon was on his way back. Greg was on his way back from his shooting accident. He was back in the Tour. He had no thoughts of winning the Tour, but it was all dropping in nicely to place. Fignon was looking like the winner. He was building a lead. Then Greg goes and grabs the yellow jersey for a day or so. Then Fignon took it back and made a good gains. And then we had stories every day. Then we were coming into Aix-les-Bains, I think it was Aix-les-Bains. We came down a hill. It was raining. Roundabout, turn right, finish line. The GC leaders rolled in a break. And as they made the turn, they all fell off like skittles. Down went Greg, down went Fignon, Delgado was down, Echevarria was down, Larreta was down. And they all grabbed the bikes and got up. And Greg won the stage. He got up first. Fignon was second. Delgado was third. And it was only after the race had finished and I was going through the results weeks later, I realised the day they crossed the finishing line with 2 days to go in the Tour was the final general classification of the Tour. It wasn't the way it was standing at the time. Fignon was a clear leader. So then we get to the last day and it started outside the Palace of Versailles. And until recently, it was the last time the race ended with a time trial because it was too perfect to ever do it again.
Right.
And there'd be no views. And so we went to the Palace of Versailles to set it up in the morning. Now, at those days, we pre-recorded the opening, which I sent to London, and then we picked it up live at 2 o'clock in the afternoon when they put the opening on the front from London.
Honestly, Paul, who's going to win? It's going to be close.
It will be close, but I think logically it's got to be Fignon.
So Paul goes for Laurent Fignon. I'm going to split the difference, Richard, and go for Greg LeMond, because LeMond is a very determined competitor and he will not give up the fight for this final yellow jersey. One thing I'm very confident about, and that is this Tour de France will be the closest finish in the history of the race.
We stopped the tape. The cameramen satellited it to London to put on the show. I driving to Paul from Versailles for a coffee in Paris. He said, what do you say that for? I said, look, Paul, of course Fignon's going to win, but I don't want the viewers to turn off, so I've gone for the other guy. And he said, and if he does win, it's not going to be by very much. He's 50 seconds behind already.
Yeah.
And so we left it there, and I laughed. Then came the race, and Paul made this brilliant call, calculating how much he needs to gain. Whereas Fignon had had his aero bars refused, Le Mans had his accepted. And so the Champs-Élysées, we now know, is uphill, and then it's downhill from the top, from the Arc de Triomphe to the finish line. It was nail-biting stuff. And we were calling it perfectly.
Two greatest athletes in this year's Tour de France and in the world of cycling are battling out now a point of honour, a point of pride for the greatest finish in the Tour de France. Paul.
Phil, it's 48 seconds now with 3 kilometres to go for Laurent Fignon. The gap is 48 seconds. Phil, this is the most incredible thing I think I've ever seen in my life.
Because Paul he was a mathematician. He was getting it all, paper everywhere. And he kept counting down. He's now got 40 seconds lead, 35, 36. And now he's turning in the straight. And Le Mans comes down, hits the finishing line. He's got a time.
Look at that time. He's taken 30 seconds off Thierry Marie, 26.57. He goes into top place. We've got 2 minutes and 50 seconds now to wait for Laurent Fignon to arrive.
Cathy's right in front of me, Cathy Lemond, and Greg stops by her. And looking up at the clock. Fignon comes bouncing off the rails, giving everything he can give. He knew it was close.
So the Tour de France comes down to the climax it's always threatened it would be. These two men have been Siamese twins throughout the race. Now the cord is broken and it looks like Greg LeMond might, but look at the finish by Fignon. They're all turned off. It's going to be close. 27.47 he must do. The clock is counting down. So are the meters to the line. This is going to be incredible. Fignon is bouncing off the barriers here. He's lost the Tour de France. The crowd has realised it. Laurent Fignon has lost the Tour de France. Right on the line as he comes over. 55 seconds his countdown. He has lost the Tour de France by 8 seconds. Can you believe that?
And the time ran out about 200 metres before the end of the Tour. And then we just counted the seconds. 8 seconds to the line. I could have been so wrong, but I wasn't. I said, I don't believe it. Greg LeMond has just won the Tour de France by 8 seconds. The closest in history. To which my infamous Brian Venn, who was the English producer in London, put the key over in London in my ear and said, next time, Liggett, get it bloody right. So I burst into tears. We're live. Le Mans was leaping with joy. Cathy was screaming. Le Mans was crying. And Fignon, who screamed to halt at the same place, he curled up like a fetus on the floor and sobbed his heart out. To lose the Tour like that was terrible. And so all three of us looked like idiots, not sportsmen, all crying together. And that's my most memorable Tour for sure. Everything just happened. It was a great Tour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a wonderful stage. So in a way, you could answer the next question with the same one, but do you have a favorite stage?
Oh, that's a difficult one. Favorite stage. I love, my favorite stages are when guys tack far out and do great rides. I remember this happening to Claudio Chiappucci, the Italian guy. He broke away early on. He did a Fausto Coppi marathon breakaway, the likes of which I'd never seen in the Tour. And he raced to Sestriere, which is just over the border in Italy. He come out of France. And he's Italian.
This is what the crowd have waited for now. The waters part as Chiappucci heads towards the final kilometre banner. That's what he's been dreaming of for the best part of 5 hours today. And even the race referees are now in the way because the crowd cannot get back far enough. And look at this. I've never seen this ever in a Tour de France. We've seen the crowds come close on Alpe d'Huez, but never this before now as they welcome the Italian to the summit.
And he was on his own. And he won by a long way. He got up the overall, but he wasn't taking yellow jersey, I think. But that was a strong rider. One that comes to mind is Stuart O'Grady from Australia. 200 kilometres in the breakaway. 220, I think, if memory serves me right. 50 metres to go. Wiped out in the sprint.
How cruel is life as a pro bike rider as the sprinters now look to reassess and Bettini launches the attack. And look at that, O'Grady and Jesland try again to mix it at the front. They're not going to have their day taken away. Bettini, I think, has made the move too soon. Bradley McGee on the left of the picture here as well. as they try now to go. This comes Tour Auvergne-Rhone-Alpes. He's trying to finish it off with a good result for O'Grady's team. Here he comes. Petacchi is making the move. Win number 4, but on the right it is Bradley McGee. Win number 4, though it is Baden Cook. Sorry, he's second, but he can't believe it.
But brilliant television.
Great TV.
Brilliant television,
Yeah.
and that's what we're in the game for. And of course, there's the heroes. I laugh at footballers, soccer players.
Yeah.
When they don't even get touched and they're rolling in the floor hoping for a penalty. And then you see how these guys bounce on the road.
Oh my goodness, Phil!
What on earth happened? I cannot
my
believe
God.
what we are seeing.
And never even look at the wounds and jump back on the bike.
Yeah.
No, this is a great sport.
What would you label as the most emotional stage or tour or moment
Oh, wow.
that you narrated?
Gosh. Well, I did cry when Le Monde had that 8-second victory because of what Brian Venner said in London. Could hit the spot. We've had the death of Castelli was very sad because he didn't have a crash helmet on, but it wasn't the cause of his death, and it wasn't made clear. He fell off at about 12 miles an hour as they started the descent of the hill where he died in the Pyrenees, and his face here hit the road, and he died from the impact. And he was Lance's roommate too, Olympic champion in '92, and that was very sad because I'd never called a dead man on the tour before.
Yeah.
And it was poignant because that particular stage was rewriting the books. I looked at the paper, and they called it the Circle of the Dead Men, the Cercle des Hommes Morts. And I used that in my opening. In those days, we recorded the opening and satellited it away before we called the race. And I called it Welcome to the Circle of the Dead Men. Castelli died.
Wow.
We had to get it off air before it went out. And I had to rewrite the opening. Panic wasn't the word. And I had to do it, and I felt so sorry as well, you know. And the guy who was winning the stage from memory was Richard Verink. And nobody would tell him that the guy died behind him because he would have cracked up too.
Were you on live TV when you found out?
Do you know, I can't remember. I don't think so. Because he crashed fairly early on. I don't think I was. We weren't doing the same coverage as we do now.
Yeah.
Because I did and I remember doing the new stand-up in the open air. So I rushed outside, tried to put it all together again. And that was a sad moment.
Yeah.
Someone probably sticks out most of all. It's the Tour de France, it's a family.
It's like,
Even if somebody dies from their entourage, you know, I mean,
no.
one year 7 people died on the Tour de France just because of the situation. When you're covering a sporting event, it's a game after all. It's to please everybody. Nobody should die.
Yeah, right. What counts as the funniest or most bizarre event that you've seen at the tour?
Yeah, it's probably when we went to Disneyland in Paris, walking along with a Donald Duck on my arm, something like that. Well, it's always quite fun, and Sharon laughing his head off, as he would. Yeah, and one of his favourite jokes is, "Hey, Liggett, there's a duck at the door with a bill for you." Thanks very much, Paul.
Always nice to work Paul back in.
Well, we did 33 years, which Paul was very proud to say. Those 33 years, he found out the information I didn't. He said, this is the longest commentary duo. We're the longest commentary duo ever worked together in any sport. 33 years straight.
Wow.
And I said, I know, it feels like it. You know, we just laughed our way through.
One more of these. Is there a tour memory that still makes you smile every time you think of it?
Probably, I smile most of the times on the tour, the people I meet. I can't think of one specific one. I'd like to, but I try to smile most of the time.
Yeah.
Even when it's tough days around, because it's a Tour de France, and the French are so nice to me. Yeah. Because they don't understand the English, and they see all these fans shouting through the barriers at me.
Yeah.
And they go past him, beaucoup de monde là. Yes, we must listen to you on television, you must say something nice. And I have to laugh because the fans are the heart of the whole thing. And everyone comes to tell me a story. And I love listening to those stories. I don't get bored by them.
Right.
And I warn them. I said, what you've told me might come out on air. Hey, that's fine. Yeah.
Like, I've got 4 hours to fill tomorrow. I might talk about that.
Exactly.
Right.
And sometimes I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Phil, the pub's getting awfully busy here. Maybe it's time for lunch?
Well, you know the history of the pub? They only serve lunch. It's only snacks because the pub had to serve food at lunchtime for all the staff. I've been here for over 200 years ago. Yeah. But they still to this day do serve no food in this pub at night. Yeah. But boy, you won't get in this pub. It'll be packed to the front door because the beer.
But they serve us pints in the morning. Cheers. Well, thanks for having me here.
Thanks for asking such interesting questions, Paul. Thank you very much.
I think the responses were more interesting. Cheers to that.
We're all true.
For all your cycling content year-round, subscribe to NBC Sports YouTube page. We got it all.